Welcome back to the Daily Crypto Roundup. Today, we've got a fresh DeFi exploit after Wasabi Protocol was drained for around $4.5 million in what looks like an admin key compromise. We've got Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Ron Wyden pressing Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and Tether over a reported loan tied to a trust benefiting Lutnick's family. We've got World Liberty Financial racing toward a massive 62 billion token unlock vote, with near-unanimous support, but plenty of questions around insiders, vesting, and supply pressure. We've got XRP traders turning bullish after Rakuten Wallet launched new XRP features in Japan. And finally, we've got Polymarket bringing in Chainalysis as prediction markets try to clean up their image after a wave of insider trading concerns. So, this is not just a market update today. This is a trust update. Because the biggest theme running through all of these stories is simple. Crypto is growing up, but every part of the industry is now being tested. Security, regulation, transparency, governance, and real-world adoption. Before we get into it, today's episode is brought to you by Kraken. If you're looking for a serious crypto platform to buy, sell, and manage your crypto, Kraken is one of the most established names in the industry. The link is in the description. And as always, only invest what you can afford to lose, keep your crypto secure, and make sure you understand what you're buying before you press that button. Now let's get straight into the first major story, because Wasabi Protocol has just become the latest example of why DeFi security still has a long way to go. According to reports, Wasabi Protocol, a perpetuals trading platform built across chains including Ethereum and Base, was drained for roughly $4.5 million after what appears to have been a compromised admin key. And this is the part that matters. This was not just some simple bug in the code where a trader found a pricing error or a strange loophole. The issue appears to have centered around privileged access. In other words, the attacker allegedly got control of a key that had too much power. That is a massive red flag in DeFi. Because the whole promise of decentralized finance is supposed to be that systems are transparent, permissionless, and resistant to single points of failure. But when one externally owned account, one admin wallet, or one deployer key has the ability to upgrade contracts, grant permissions, or control critical parts of a protocol, then suddenly the system is not as decentralized as people think. It becomes a castle with one master key. And if that master key gets stolen, the castle is wide open. Security researchers have suggested the attacker was able to use the compromised deployer permissions to upgrade contracts and drain assets. That means this was not just about stealing funds from one exposed wallet. It was about gaining administrative control over the infrastructure itself. And this is where retail users need to pay attention. When you use DeFi, you're not just taking market risk. You're not just betting on whether Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, or Cardano goes up or down. You're also taking smart contract risk, admin key risk, bridge risk, oracle risk, team risk, and upgrade risk. And sometimes those risks are invisible until something breaks. The bigger picture is even more uncomfortable. We've seen a string of major DeFi hacks recently, and the industry keeps saying it is learning lessons. But the same patterns keep showing up. Compromised keys, rushed deployments, upgradable contracts, weak internal controls, and protocols that are too dependent on small numbers of privileged wallets. So the lesson from the Wasabi story is not just another protocol got hacked. The real lesson is that DeFi still needs institutional-level security if it wants institutional-level money. Multi-sig controls, time locks, formal audits, active monitoring, and restricted admin powers are not optional anymore. They are basic survival tools. And this matters for the whole market because every exploit damages trust. Even if Bitcoin has nothing to do with the hack, even if XRP has nothing to do with the hack, even if Solana has nothing to do with the hack, the headline still lands with the public as "Crypto got hacked again." That hurts confidence. That slows adoption. And that gives regulators another reason to step in. Which brings us nicely to the second major story. Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Ron Wyden are asking questions about Tether, Howard Lutnick, and a reported loan tied to a trust benefiting Lutnick's children. This is a very political story, but it is important because Tether is not just another crypto company. Tether is the issuer of USDT, the biggest stablecoin in the market, and stablecoins sit right at the center of crypto liquidity. They are used on exchanges, in DeFi, in payments, in international transfers, and across trading pairs all over the world. So when senators start asking questions about Tether's relationships with powerful financial and political figures, the market pays attention. The issue here is a reported loan between Tether and a trust that benefits Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's family. Warren and Wyden have asked for more information, raising concerns around potential conflicts of interest, national security, and whether politically connected crypto interests could receive favorable treatment as Congress considers digital asset legislation. Now, to be clear, a request for documents is not the same as proof of wrongdoing. But politically, this story matters because it shows how crypto is now deeply tied into Washington. Stablecoins are no longer being treated like a fringe experiment. They are being discussed as part of the financial system, part of national security, and part of political influence. And that is the shift. A few years ago, the debate was whether crypto would survive. Now the debate is who controls it, who regulates it, who profits from it, and whether the rules are being written fairly. For Tether, this is another reminder that scale brings scrutiny. When you become one of the most important liquidity engines in global crypto, you cannot avoid questions from lawmakers. And for the wider market, this is a reminder that stablecoin regulation is likely to be one of the most important crypto stories of the next year. Now let's move to World Liberty Financial, because this story is about token supply, governance, insiders, and one of the most politically watched projects in crypto. World Liberty Financial is moving toward a huge token unlock involving more than 62 billion WLFI tokens. The proposal has reportedly received near-unanimous support, but the details are where the story gets interesting. The plan introduces vesting schedules, including a 2-year cliff and multi-year release structure for certain tokens. That sounds sensible on the surface because it avoids everything hitting the market at once. But the controversy is around who holds the tokens, how much supply is tied to insiders, and what this means for ordinary holders. Whenever a project unlocks a giant amount of supply, traders immediately ask one question. Is this bullish because it creates liquidity and unlocks growth, or bearish because it creates future selling pressure? And the honest answer is, it depends. If the unlock is structured properly, with long vesting, clear disclosure, strong governance, and real project growth, then it can actually help a token mature. It gives the market a clearer roadmap. It tells investors when supply may come online. It can reduce uncertainty. But if insiders hold too much of the supply, or if the community feels the rules are being shaped to protect founders and early backers, then the same unlock can become a confidence problem. And that is why WLFI is such an important case study. This is one of the biggest tensions in crypto right now. Projects want to look decentralized, but many still have very concentrated ownership. They want community governance, but the voting power often sits with a small number of wallets. They want retail enthusiasm, but the token economics often favor early insiders. So with WLFI, the market is not just looking at the vote. It is looking at credibility. If the vesting structure feels fair and transparent, the project can move forward. If it feels like insiders are being protected while retail absorbs the risk, the backlash could grow. And that leads us to one of today's more positive adoption stories, XRP and Rakuten. XRP traders have turned more bullish after Rakuten Wallet launched new XRP features in Japan. The update allows users to convert Rakuten loyalty points into XRP and trade the asset through the mobile app. It also opens the door for XRP-linked payments across a huge merchant network in Japan, with QR payments connected to Rakuten's wider retail ecosystem. This is exactly the kind of story XRP holders love, because it is not just another chart pattern. It is not just another rumor. It is actual consumer-facing usage. Rakuten is a major Japanese brand. Its ecosystem includes millions of users and a massive loyalty points program. So when XRP gets plugged into that kind of environment, it gives the token practical exposure beyond the usual exchange trading crowd. Now, does that mean XRP instantly rockets? No. And that is the important part. Adoption stories do not always translate into immediate price explosions. Sometimes the market gets excited first, the price barely moves, and then the real impact only becomes clear over time if usage actually grows. But sentiment does matter. Sentiment reportedly said XRP saw one of its strongest bullish social sentiment readings in 2 years after the Rakuten news. That tells you the XRP army is awake, engaged, and looking for the next catalyst. At the time of reporting, XRP was still trading around $1.37 and had been down over the previous 24 hours, so the price had not fully reflected the optimism. But the adoption angle is still important. For XRP to move beyond speculation, it needs more real-world rails, more payment use cases, more integrations, and more reasons for people outside crypto Twitter to interact with it. Rakuten does not solve everything, but it is a strong step in the right direction. And finally, Polymarket has brought in Chainalysis to help monitor trading activity and detect potential insider trading in prediction markets. This is a big deal because prediction markets are one of the fastest growing and most controversial corners of crypto. Platforms like Polymarket allow users to trade on real-world outcomes: elections, policy decisions, sporting events, geopolitical events, economic data, and more. The problem is obvious. If people with inside information can trade before the public knows what is happening, prediction markets become vulnerable to the same kind of abuse that traditional markets have spent decades trying to police. Recent controversy around insider-style betting has put pressure on the whole sector. Polymarket's move to work with Chainalysis is therefore a clear attempt to professionalize the platform and show regulators, institutions, and users that market integrity matters. Chainalysis is expected to help detect suspicious trading patterns, trace wallet activity, and provide evidence that can be used by law enforcement or regulators. In simple terms, Polymarket is trying to move away from the Wild West image and toward something closer to Wall Street surveillance standards. And that matters because prediction markets could become huge. If they are properly regulated and trusted, they could become a major financial product category. But if they are seen as anonymous gambling platforms full of manipulation, they will face heavy crackdowns. So today's roundup really comes back to one central point. Crypto is entering a more serious phase. Wasabi shows why security must improve. Warren and Wyden's Tether questions show why political connections and stablecoin power are under the microscope. WLFI shows why tokenomics and insider supply still matter. XRP and Rakuten show why real-world adoption remains the dream. And Polymarket with Chainalysis shows why market integrity is now becoming essential. This is the market growing up in real time. It is messy, it is political, it is volatile, but it is also becoming harder to ignore. That is the Daily Crypto Roundup for today. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you more focused on security risks, regulation, XRP adoption, or prediction markets right now? Smash like, follow the show, check the Kraken link in the description, and as always, we'll see you at the top.